In this video, I'm going to go over some really simple day trading option setups that you can use that are highly predictable, highly profitable, and I know that you'll love it and I know that you'll learn something. And I'm also going to go over my entries here on Facebook. Not only am I showing you these plays, but this is something that I actually traded today and made money on. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to stick around and hit that like button and subscribe. And if it's not something you're interested in, well, beat it, nerd, because we got work to do. So let's get into it. So first off here, Facebook today. Facebook had earnings after hours, and you can use that to your advantage, not holding into earnings, but generally what you're going to have a couple of things. Now, it can either squeeze up for that ride up into earnings, or it'll sell off, and that's what it did. So Facebook sold off because the market sold off, and when that happens, there's a couple areas that you can watch. Now, if some specific key daily levels fail, which it did and kept coming south, the best thing you can do, and this level right here is the 50 SMA on the daily. So I've done other videos on moving average support. If it has a lot of distance, so distance is important. If it sells off a big distance into that moving average, it'll have no choice but to bounce, and that's what it did. So I scalped out a little move here first, and this was the bigger move where it came down to actually test. There was an actual definitive level down there as well, and it's squeezed out. Now, this doesn't look like a big trade, okay? But if you take a look here, from lows of that move up to the highs of that first push is almost 2.5 points. And if you come right up to the top of it, if you were go from lows to highs, is 3 points. That's more than enough to make your daily nut on, folks, okay? So I took a little options move and I made $725 live in TrickTrades here this morning. I had my internet go out and I didn't trade until basically right here. This was the only trade I took in the morning. And then, but that's not the trade I want us to focus on. This is just a little bonus. The main feature of this video and the main lesson is earnings, okay? So earnings, coming into earnings, what will happen coming into the close of earnings? Now you're gonna get a couple of things. Now I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay, sorry, this is a little finicky here. I'm on a mouse pad, trackpad. So this will give us a little better idea. After it sells off, now, do you see how it double bottoms here? Right here, we got a low here, it sells off, it cannot break those lows. It's getting to be, it's coming into the close, it's 3 p.m. When that comes down to test that support, and it doesn't just like pound through, what's gonna happen coming into earnings is you're gonna have shorts that were riding this out all day. They're done, they're gonna get out. Okay, so you're gonna get a bit of a squeeze, and that's what I took. So I entered, and I'm gonna show you my entries here. I entered a little early on this looking for this move. I've seen this literally 100 times before. You'll have shorts on a day that sells off, it'll squeeze up. So I'm not necessarily overly worried about my entries. I know as long as I can get a low enough average, it'll squeeze up and I'll make a mint, and that's what happened. So let me go into my, okay, so this is the trade. Now, it doesn't look like much, but I'll tell you what, if you look closely, this is well over 1 point per contract, what I made. I made over a point on this contract, and that's entering right in this area, okay? So this is where I entered, this is where I peeled off, and because this is a 5-minute chart, you're going to have low volume, so you can't take a huge position. But this here, making 1 point on the contract, is more than enough. And this is very predictable. So let me hit this one more time, guys. Just stick with me, because I want to pound this in. This is important stuff here. Coming into earnings, you will have, especially on a day where it sells off like this, you're going to have some sort of a squeeze towards the end of the day. Now, this could have squeezed up further, but I don't care. I don't care how far it comes up. My my target was the VWAP and then just get out. And sure enough, look what happened. It came up to the VWAP and then sold right off, right? Because you're going to have longs that rode out this double bottom and been riding in this area, right? Because this is the 50 SMA on the daily, which is going to hold pretty decent support. It came down a little bit further, but you're still going to have longs that are looking for this squeeze coming into earnings. You got to remember, you got to be looking at these charts through the eyes of a professional. They know what's going to happen. This isn't hindsight thinking. This isn't predicting. This is just how charts work. This is how price action works, folks. Okay? So if you are aware of these things and you execute, you can make a lot of money really quickly. There's a lot of money to be made on an earnings day, not holding into earnings. Don't do that. That's a fool's game. You want to be looking for these setups. So a bounce off of a moving average, you can look for the squeeze up, and then once it kind of tops out, you can take a stab at it. Take a small position, enter off the risk off the previous range, and you're good to go. Okay, and you'll get a sell-off coming into earnings because nobody's going to be holding into earnings. Only fools do that. That's a fool's game, right? So you're going to get that sell-off. So you can go long and you can go short. It's easy stuff, guys. This stuff doesn't need to be complicated. What a lot of people are doing are they're looking through charts and they're looking at charts super complicated. There's no massive indicators on these charts. There's like the moving averages from the daily chart. I got the VWAP on here, and like that's it. You need support and resistance and then just a little bit of thought, and you can do really, really well in day trading. So with all that said, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to wrap this up. I wanted to keep this recap nice and short, and it's been a busy day, guys. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Have a good one, and we'll check you tomorrow, guys. Adios.